Right now, you might be standing at the edge of a moment that could change everything, and you do not even realize it. She may already be showing you that she feels safe, curious, and open, but instead of stepping forward, you hesitate. You tell yourself you are being careful. You convince yourself that you are just imagining things. You hold back because you are afraid of misreading the situation. And in doing that, you quietly let the moment slip away. This hesitation is incredibly common. Many men freeze at the exact second when a woman is hoping they will gently take the lead. You may think you are being respectful by staying still and waiting for a clear verbal invitation. In reality, you might be unintentionally draining the energy from a connection that was building naturally. The truth is not harsh, but it is important. Attraction rarely arrives with loud announcements. It shows up in subtle biological and emotional signals. Before we go further, it is essential to ground this in something healthy and responsible. Real connection is never about forcing anything. It is never about ignoring discomfort. It is about awareness, mutual comfort, and emotional attunement. What we are discussing here is how to recognize signs of genuine interest so that you can respond calmly and respectfully, not aggressively or impulsively. There is a meaningful difference between polite friendliness and authentic attraction. When a woman is simply being social, she tends to stay within predictable boundaries. Her posture remains measured. Her tone stays consistent. She maintains comfortable distance. Her movements feel controlled and socially appropriate. Nothing in her behavior shifts dramatically. But when attraction is present, something subtle changes beneath the surface. Her nervous system begins to activate. This is not a conscious decision, it is a biological response. Just as your body reacts automatically to excitement or anticipation, hers does too. Hormones like adrenaline and dopamine influence breathing, eye focus, muscle tension, and subtle body language. Understanding this from a biological perspective can help remove anxiety. This is not a guessing game. It is about noticing patterns that happen naturally when someone feels drawn to you. One of the first shifts often happens in breathing. Most people are so focused on lips, smiles, or words that they completely miss this. When a woman feels a spark and senses that physical closeness might increase, her breathing can subtly change. It may become slightly shallower. There may be a tiny pause when you lean closer. Her chest may lift more noticeably near the collarbone area. It can look like a brief intake of breath that she did not plan. This happens because anticipation triggers the sympathetic nervous system. The body prepares for a potential emotional or physical moment. It is not dramatic, it is not theatrical. It is small, but it is real. If she is uncomfortable, the opposite usually occurs. Her body leans back, her breathing stays flat and steady. She creates distance rather than allowing it to shrink. The body does not lie easily when it feels unsafe. Another powerful sign involves personal space. In psychology, personal space is not random. We all have invisible zones around our bodies. There is a public zone for strangers, a social zone for acquaintances, a personal zone for friends, and an intimate zone reserved for those we trust deeply. This intimate space extends roughly within arm's reach, often closer than 18 inches. When someone enters that inner space without comfort, it feels intrusive. The body naturally pulls away, shoulders tighten, feet shift backward, the torso angles away. But when attraction is present, the dynamic changes. She may step into that closer space on purpose, and not accidentally, not clumsily, but intentionally, often under the excuse of something harmless. She might brush lint from your shoulder. She might adjust your collar. She might smooth down your sleeve. On the surface, it seems practical, but biologically, touch is one of the most powerful bonding behaviors humans share. In many species, grooming is a sign of closeness and trust. In humans, light, purposeful touch can signal comfort and emotional investment. If she reaches into your space and touches your upper body while holding eye contact, that is not random. That requires courage. She is testing whether you feel comfortable with closeness. If you freeze completely or step away, she receives information. If you remain relaxed and present, she receives different information. This is not about interpreting every touch as romantic. Context matters. But when touch combines with proximity, eye contact, and softened body language, it often signals more than politeness. There are also subtle preparation behaviors. When someone feels attracted, the body instinctively shifts into a state of readiness. You might notice her briefly touching her lips while listening to you, not dramatically, just a small motion. Or she may lightly press her lips together, adding moisture without thinking about it. This can be linked to adrenaline affecting hydration and muscle tension. Her brain may already be imagining what it would feel like to be closer. The body sometimes prepares before the conscious mind forms a clear decision. Watch for another sign tied to vulnerability. The neck is one of the most sensitive and exposed parts of the body. When someone feels guarded, they protect it. When someone feels safe and open, they may tilt their head slightly or sweep their hair aside, exposing the neck and shoulder area. In evolutionary psychology, exposing vulnerable areas can signal trust. Again, context is everything. A hair adjustment alone means nothing, but paired with softened eyes, proximity, and a calm pause in conversation, it can become meaningful. Eye contact carries its own language. Social eye contact typically stays in the upper face, but when romantic interest is activated, the gaze pattern often shifts. Her eyes may move from one of your eyes to the other, then briefly drop to your mouth before returning upward. This triangular movement can happen quickly. It may repeat. The brain focuses on what it anticipates. It is important not to stare intensely or analyze obsessively. Overthinking can make you rigid and unnatural. Instead, remain present. Use soft awareness rather than intense scrutiny. There is also something almost impossible to fake: pupil dilation. In steady lighting, when someone feels strong interest, their pupils can widen slightly. This happens because the brain wants to take in more visual information about something it finds rewarding. You cannot consciously control this response. It is linked to dopamine and arousal pathways. However, never rely on a single signal. Attraction is about patterns, not isolated moments. One glance does not equal invitation. But when breathing shifts, personal space decreases, grooming behaviors appear, eye patterns change, and she stays engaged without pulling away. The pattern becomes clearer. And then there is silence. Many men fear silence. The moment conversation fades, panic rises. The urge to fill the gap with jokes or random questions becomes overwhelming. But meaningful silence feels different from awkward silence. Meaningful silence carries weight. It feels charged, not empty. If she maintains eye contact during that quiet moment, does not reach for her phone, does not look around for escape, and stays physically oriented toward you, that silence may not be a problem. It may be an opening. When attraction builds, verbal conversation often slows naturally. Words become less necessary. The nervous system shifts from cognitive exchange to emotional presence. If she truly felt bored or uncomfortable, she would likely start talking again to create distance. Understanding these signals is not about manipulation, it is about emotional intelligence. It is about reading comfort accurately so that you do not miss genuine opportunities, and equally important, so that you do not push when there is no invitation. Now that you understand how attraction can quietly reveal itself through breathing, proximity, subtle grooming, eye movement, and meaningful silence, the next step is learning how to respond in a way that feels calm, respectful, and confident. Awareness without action changes nothing, but action without sensitivity can damage everything. The balance between those two is where real connection lives. The biggest mistake many men make once they notice these signals is overcorrecting. Either they do nothing and let the moment dissolve, or they move too fast because they are afraid the opportunity will disappear. Both reactions usually come from anxiety. When your nervous system is activated, your body wants certainty. It wants a guarantee. But human connection does not operate on guarantees. It operates on attunement. When you sense that she is engaged and comfortable, your job is not to rush. Your job is to slow down. Attraction intensifies in calm spaces, not chaotic ones. If her breathing shifts and she remains close, mirror her energy gently. If she lowers her voice, lower yours slightly. If she holds eye contact a little longer, allow yours to soften rather than sharpen. This creates emotional synchrony. Two nervous systems begin regulating together. There is a principle in psychology known as co-regulation. When two people feel safe, their heart rates, breathing patterns, and even subtle body movements begin to align. You do not force this, you allow it. The more relaxed and grounded you remain, the more secure she feels in staying present with you. When silence arrives, resist the urge to break it immediately. Instead, take one slow breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice your posture. Is your body open or tense? If you cross your arms or lean away, you signal retreat. If you stay open and steady, you signal confidence without aggression. If she maintains eye contact during that pause, you can gently reduce the physical distance. Not abruptly, not in a dramatic movement, just a small shift forward. This gives her the opportunity to respond. Remember, real interest will move toward you, not away. At this point, it is important to address consent clearly and responsibly. Attraction signals are not contracts. They are invitations to explore, not permissions to assume. The healthiest approach is one that combines leadership with awareness. Instead of asking in a stiff clinical way that disrupts emotional flow, you can communicate through tone and presence. You can move closer slowly enough that she has time to lean in or lean back. Her body will answer you. There is a concept often called the 90-10 principle. You close most of the distance, but you leave space for her to bridge the final portion. This is not a trick. It is a respectful check-in without words. If she meets you halfway, you have shared momentum. If she stays still or shifts back, you smile gently and ease away without embarrassment. That response shows emotional maturity. Many men fear rejection so intensely that they would rather never try. But rejection delivered respectfully is not humiliation, it is clarity. And clarity allows both people to move forward without confusion. When you handle a declined advance calmly, you communicate strength and self-control. Ironically, that composure often increases attraction more than desperation ever could. Let us also talk about the emotional layer underneath physical signals. Attraction is not purely biological, it is also psychological. A woman who feels heard, understood, and emotionally safe is far more likely to express interest openly. If you have been interrupting her, dominating the conversation, or trying to impress rather than connect, those subtle signals may never appear. Ask thoughtful questions. Listen to her answers without scanning the room. Reflect back what she says in your own words occasionally. When someone feels genuinely seen, their nervous system relaxes. Relaxation creates space for chemistry to emerge naturally. Confidence does not mean performing. It does not mean exaggerating your personality. It means trusting that you can handle whatever response you receive. If she leans in, you remain grounded. If she does not, you remain grounded. That stability is magnetic because it signals emotional health. There is another layer that many people overlook: your own body language. Are you holding tension in your shoulders? Are your hands fidgeting? Are you speaking too quickly? Your physiology influences hers. If you appear anxious and scattered, her nervous system may interpret that as instability. Slow your speech slightly. Let your movements be deliberate rather than jerky. Relax your jaw. These small adjustments communicate safety at a subconscious level. When eye contact deepens, allow a soft smile rather than a fixed stare. A gentle expression tells her that you are present and warm. A hard stare can feel confrontational. Remember, connection thrives in softness, not intensity alone. It is also helpful to understand why many women rely on indirect communication in romantic moments. For many, vulnerability carries risk. Social conditioning often teaches women to avoid appearing overly forward. By signaling through body language rather than explicit requests, she protects herself emotionally. If you do not respond, she can reinterpret her behavior as friendliness and preserve her dignity. This does not mean she wants you to guess blindly. It means she hopes you are attentive enough to notice the invitation. When you respond smoothly and respectfully, you validate her courage. When you ignore clear signs repeatedly, she may interpret that as lack of interest or awareness. However, always prioritize clarity over ego. If you are uncertain, you can still communicate in a way that maintains warmth. For example, you might say softly, "I really want to kiss you right now," and then pause. This keeps the emotional tone intact while giving her space to respond affirmatively or redirect gently. Direct communication can be attractive when delivered with calm confidence rather than insecurity. Many potential relationships fade, not because there was no attraction, but because both people were afraid to lean into vulnerability. She waited for you. You waited for absolute certainty. The moment expired. Everything we have discussed comes down to one essential shift in mindset. The signs, the biology, the breathing patterns, the eye movements, the silence, all of it is meaningless if you do not trust yourself enough to respond with calm action. At the same time, action without awareness becomes reckless. The real growth happens when confidence and empathy work together. Many men believe that success in romantic moments is about boldness alone. In reality, it is about grounded presence. When you are fully present, you notice her energy without obsessing over it. You feel the rhythm of the interaction rather than trying to control it. You allow space for connection to breathe. The greatest barrier is usually not her uncertainty. It is your internal dialogue, the voice that says, "What if I am wrong? What if she laughs? What if I ruin everything?" That voice is a protective mechanism. It is trying to shield you from discomfort. But growth rarely happens inside complete safety. Rejection, when handled with dignity, is not a personal failure. It is feedback, it is information. It tells you where you stand. When you can approach a moment, knowing that you will be okay regardless of the outcome, your body relaxes. That relaxation alone makes you more attractive because it signals emotional resilience. Think about how many connections in your past may have faded not because there was no spark, but because neither of you stepped forward. You both waited for certainty. You both protected yourselves, and the opportunity dissolved quietly. Regret often hurts more than rejection because regret lingers. But here is the reassuring truth. When you approach connection with respect, awareness, and patience, even a missed moment becomes a lesson rather than a wound. You build emotional intelligence every time you practice noticing, pausing, and responding thoughtfully. Let us bring the pieces together clearly and responsibly. If her breathing shifts when you move closer, if she willingly enters your intimate space, if she lightly touches you with intention, if her gaze moves between your eyes and lips repeatedly, if her pupils appear wider in steady lighting, and if she holds a charged silence without retreating, you are likely experiencing mutual attraction. The key word is mutual. Now, your role is not to dominate the moment. It is to gently lead it. You soften your body. You step slightly closer. You hold her gaze. You allow the pause to deepen for a few seconds. If she remains there with you, that shared stillness is powerful. You can lean in slowly, deliberately, leaving space for her to meet you. This is not about performance, it is about sensitivity. Move slowly enough that she has time to respond. If she leans in, you have alignment. If she tilts her head away or pulls back even slightly, you immediately respect that boundary and ease off. No pressure, no embarrassment, just grace. That response, whether yes or no, defines your character more than the kiss itself. Respect builds trust, and trust is the foundation of every healthy relationship, whether it lasts one evening or a lifetime. It is also important to remember that chemistry cannot be forced. Not every interaction will contain these signals. Not every date will carry that electricity. That does not mean something is wrong with you. It simply means compatibility varies. When you stop taking every outcome personally, you free yourself to show up more authentically. There is another layer to confidence that often goes unspoken. It is self-awareness. If you constantly seek validation from her reactions, you will feel unstable. Instead, focus on your own grounded state. Ask yourself, am I being genuine? Am I respecting her boundaries? Am I listening as much as I am speaking? When those answers are yes, you are already operating at a higher level of maturity. Connection thrives when both people feel safe. Safety is not created by words alone. It is created by tone, pacing, posture, and emotional steadiness. When you cultivate calm energy within yourself, you naturally make space for intimacy to grow. You do not need exaggerated techniques. You do not need manipulation. You need awareness, patience, and courage. Courage does not mean eliminating fear. It means acting thoughtfully, even when a little fear is present. The next time you feel that charged pause, do not rush to fill it. Breathe, stay present. Notice her eyes, notice her posture, notice your own heartbeat. Then decide with clarity rather than panic. Lean in gently if the signals align. Trust that you can handle whatever happens next. Over time, you will become more attuned. You will stop overanalyzing every glance. You will recognize the difference between politeness and desire more naturally. And most importantly, you will stop walking away from moments that were waiting for you. At the heart of all of this is respect. Respect for her signals, respect for her boundaries, respect for your own growth. When attraction is mutual and handled with care, it becomes something beautiful rather than something confusing. You do not need to be perfect. You simply need to be aware. Aware of her comfort, aware of your intention, aware of the shared energy between you. When awareness guides action, connection becomes less intimidating and more intuitive. So the next time you feel that subtle shift in the air, that quiet anticipation building between you, remember what you have learned. Stay grounded, stay observant, move with intention, not impulse, and allow the moment to unfold naturally. The only thing worse than respectful rejection is silent regret years later. Do not let fear decide for you. Let awareness and empathy lead instead. That is how real connection begins.